So the Treasury Board of Canada just dropped a patch note that is about to absolutely break the game for over 360,000 federal employees. Now, they're calling it a return to office mandate, but let's be real here. This isn't about collaboration. This is a forced patch, and it feels like it's designed to thin out the player base.
And that right there, that just nails it. This quote perfectly captures the feeling on the ground. This isn't just some policy shift. It feels like a soft layoff exploit. The government seems to be intentionally making the work environment so frustrating, so laggy, that they hope employees will just be forced to quit on their own. So, let's break down how this whole exploit actually works.
So how does the soft layoff exploit actually function? To really get it, we need to unpack the mandate itself and look right past all the corporate speak to see what's really going on behind the curtain.
You know, for a while there, it really seemed like the federal government was all in on this whole digital-first idea. But they've been slowly, steadily turning the screws. We went from a pretty flexible hybrid model back in 2023 to a 3-day minimum in 2024. And now, the final patch has dropped. By mid-2026, most staff are going to be in the office 4 days a week. And the executives? Oh, they're back to the full 5-day grind.
Okay, so this brings us to the core conflict, the real ghost in the machine. At the exact same time the government is forcing everyone back into the office, it's also actively trying to get rid of those very same office buildings. And this is where the story gets really interesting.
Here it is, the central contradiction, laid out plain and simple. On one hand, you have the mandate, which is all about surging office occupancy, packing people back in. But on the other hand, you have this massive 10-year plan to slash the federal office portfolio in half. I mean, you can't have both, right? So what's the real play here?
And the timing of this is it's critical. Take a look at the 2026 to 2027 fiscal year. Right as that 4-day mandate hits full stride, the rate they're getting rid of office space actually accelerates, jumping to a 7.4% total cut. They're demanding more people show up to buildings they're actively trying to unload. It makes no sense.
So what you get is this bizarre game of workplace musical chairs. With unassigned hot desking becoming the new normal and a smaller and smaller office footprint, there literally aren't enough desks for the people being forced back in. It's a system that's almost designed for friction.
And this engineered friction, well, it isn't just about the frustration of trying to find a desk. It translates into a direct financial hit for every single employee, an unlegislated pay cut that we're calling the commute tax.
And listen, these aren't just some abstract numbers on a screen. This is the real-world cost of just getting to work in the National Capital Region for 2026. A monthly transit pass is nearly $140. An annual parking permit, almost $800, plus tax. And that's before you even start to think about gas, car maintenance, and, the value of your own time.
So when you add it all up, this isn't just some minor inconvenience. For the average public servant, this commute tax basically amounts to a 10 to 15% pay cut. Any wage increases they fought for over the last few years, poof, wiped out by the mandatory trip downtown.
All right, so this leads us to the biggest logic bug in the government's entire official story. The whole reason they're giving for this painful return is supposed to be about performance, about collaboration. But their own history, their own data, tells a completely different story. I mean, the irony here is just stunning. You can't make this stuff up. The government itself used to champion remote work. They argued it was the key to a modern, productive public service, that it was more efficient, saved taxpayer money, and was better for the environment. So why are they now pushing one of the most aggressive RTO mandates in the country? And the numbers don't lie. During the absolute peak of remote work, from 2019 to 2023, productivity in the federal public service actually went up by 4.5%. So the argument that this is all about performance, it just doesn't hold water.
So we have to ask the most critical question of all. If this mandate isn't about productivity, and it's creating a logistical nightmare with office space, what is the real driver behind this massive, disruptive policy change?
Well, the answer is brutally simple. You are the subsidy. This whole mandate isn't really about managing a workforce. It's an urban economic bailout. It forces tens of thousands of workers to prop up struggling downtown cores, to stabilize crashing municipal transit revenues, and to rescue that sandwich economy one overpriced lunch at a time.
So the game is rigged. What can you actually do about it? In this final chapter, let's talk about how you can defend your finances against what is essentially a government-mandated nerf to your career and your wallet.
Let's just call this what it is, the silent layoff hypothesis. The RTO mandate is a tool. It strategically increases friction, the costs, the commute, the inflexibility, to the point where employees are basically encouraged to quit. This helps the government reduce headcount without the political and financial headaches of actually paying severance.
And this isn't just a theory. The data really backs this up. While other parts of the public sector were actually growing, the federal administration shed 16,500 positions in just 1 year. That's a 4.3% drop. And a lot of that came from attrition, people just leaving. The RTO mandate feels like it's designed to pour gasoline on that exact fire.
The meta has changed. You can't control the Treasury Board, but you can control your own bottom line. So first, you have to calculate your real wage after you subtract that new commute tax. Then, automate your savings into high-interest accounts to try and offset the loss. And finally, you got to maximize your tax shelters, like your RRSP, to claw back every single dollar you can. If they're going to treat you like a line item on a spreadsheet, you need to start acting like an auditor of your own finances.
You know, this whole RTO mandate might just be the first wave of a much larger fiscal reset, a bigger strategy to reduce the government's long-term liabilities. And that forces a final, pretty unsettling question. They've already come for your time and your salary through the commute. What happens when they decide your pension is the next line item that needs to be patched?